So hi everybody, welcome to my latest video. Seems to be a catchphrase that I have at the start now, but hey, let's run with it. So welcome to Why Do Motorcycle Crashes Happen, Part 2. It's like, I hope you get the reference, an Evil Dead Part 2. So it's almost a remake, but it's also got some new stuff in it as well. The reason I'm doing this in such a format is because the first video I did, go and watch it, it's on my channel, the first video that I did had some quite shocking sound quality. And there's a reason behind that. I got a new helmet and I used my lav mic setup. I got this Shark helmet actually, but I used the same lav mic setup that I was using in my old Shoei. And for some reason, it made it sound like I was talking through a kitchen roll tube. Hey ho. We live on. I still uploaded the video because I thought I made some good points in it. Anyway, I digress. Listening to me waffle is not why you're here. You're here to listen to me waffle about motorcycles, actually. So, yeah, reasons why motorcyclists crash. Let's recap some of the things that I talked about in the first video. There's 3 things I talked about in the first video. And they are putting yourself in situations and road awareness, so taking risk on a motorcycle, excessive power and excessive speed. So let's just do a really quick recap of those, and then I'll go into some more reasons why I believe motorcyclists crash. But before I do, I'm getting a bit of traction now. Don't you pull out on me. What? That one can be a short. She looked very angry at me. Was in the right lane. What was I saying then? Yeah, before I do, I'm getting a bit of traction on YouTube now. People are commenting, people are liking. If you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, subscribe. Why not? It'll be fun. And I would really appreciate it, actually. In all seriousness, any engagement, any comments, any questions, any feedback. I'm so open to feedback. Or dropping a like or subscribing. Really appreciate it. So, let's crack on. Why don't we? The first reason that I've covered before, and I'll go over it quite quickly again. Why do motorcycle crashes happen? Risk. Creating risk and putting yourself in situations that you don't need to be in. I'll take the key point, and the key takeaway is I ride my bike like I'm driving a tank. And somebody, thank you to you, I can't remember your name, but I'll give you a shout out in the description, agreed and actually expanded on that. The person who commented said that a tank needs more room to stop. It can't get through tight gaps. It can't overtake on blind bends. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely the point that I was getting at. So please, if you're a new rider or if you're an existing rider who's just looking to hone and improve their skills, I would say ride your bike like you're riding a tank. You can see I'm avoiding potholes, but I'm in the middle of the road here. I'm commanding where I am on the road. I'm taking up as much space as possible. And what I'm not going to do is become small and fast and difficult to see. So we all know what drivers of cars and some bikes, but what drivers of cars can be like. A bike is sometimes the last thing they're looking to expect. So don't create risk for yourself. Ride the bike like you're driving a tank, and take that advice away with you is the first thing I would say. Second one in this quick recap is excess power. Excess power at the wrong time. So specifically, going around corners, I would say winding on power when you don't need to, and braking traction. I'll expand on that with one of the new points that I'm going to make a little bit later on. Where should we go? Down the back roads, I think. I'll expand on that a little bit later in one of the other points that I'm going to make. The third point that I've made before, and I just want to do this quick recap, is excess speed. And also excess speed in the thinking about it in the way of decreasing your reaction time when you're riding. So the faster you're going, the less reaction time that you have. Someone knows that a 125 wearing proper gear by the looks of it, so kudos to that chap. Yeah, excess speed, yeah, it's going to compound your injuries when you're riding, so you know you're going to get more hurt if you crash at 60 than you are at 20. So that goes without saying. But If you're going at 60, you're going to have less time to react to hazards on the road, or less time to react to something that you need to. So excess speed. Let's just get down here. So they're the three things I've talked about before. I really hope the sound quality is better on this video. I felt quite bad uploading the other one with such bad sound quality. Anyway, the new points that I would like to make. I'm going to keep going with these videos, and I'm going to make a number of points in each of them until I run out of reasons why motorcyclists crash. And you know what? Every crash has a different reason, so I might be going with that for some time, but that's all good. The first reason is improper braking. Improper braking on motorcycles causes a lot of crashes that I see. Crashes dropping your bike when you're going stationary, or crashing when you're going at speed and going around corners, or even going in a straight line. Improper braking is one of the main reasons. Let me tell you why that can result in crashing, and then let me explain to you what you can do to help resolve that. So, the first thing to talk about is ABS. Let's act as if ABS doesn't exist. So let's just talk about a purely mechanical system. ABS is there to save you. You shouldn't rely on it. It should kick in an emergency. So you should always ride your bike like you don't have ABS, and treat the brakes as if they haven't got a computer system stopping your wheels from locking up. So that out of the way, let's talk about improper braking at slower speeds first. So I'm slowing down. I'm using both my front and back brake, and then I'm coming off the front brake to come to a stop. Now, why do you want to do that, and what are the mistakes that I see people making? If you're only using your front brake, negotiate this roundabout. If you're only using your front brake when you're coming to a stop, you're going to load all of your weight onto the front suspension. And if you turn the handlebars a little bit or redistribute your weight, because when a motorcycle is in motion, the rake of the wheels, the way the suspension is set up, you're going to unstabilize yourself, and the bike's going to topple over one way or another. In the worst case scenario, you're going to dip the front suspension completely if you brake too harshly at lower speeds coming to a stop. And I see loads of videos on YouTube of people doing exactly that, stopping with their front brake, slightly turning the front wheel, and the bike just topples over sideways, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. As I said, the reasoning for that is because a bike is an inherently stable machine when it's upright and moving forwards. And if you disrupt that forward momentum in such an abrupt way, you're going to lose stability. So yeah, that's number one for braking resulting in crashing. Number two is the opposite input. It's only using your back brake when you are coming to a stop. So again, motorcycle in motion, the momentum is moving forwards, and the potential energy, now look up your physics here, but your potential energy that you're creating in that mechanical system is wanting to move forwards. So as soon as you apply a brake, and it can be either, your center of mass moves forward on the machine, and it loads the front suspension. So if I'm slowing down, the front suspension gets loaded and the back suspension gets unloaded. Now, if you unload the back suspension, your rear brake becomes less effective. So if you're only stopping and slowing down using your rear brake, it's not going to be effective. Now, that can have two consequences. In an emergency braking situation, you're going to want effective braking. So using your back brake and being in the habit of only using your back brake to slow down and stop is going to land you in some trouble in an emergency situation. Also, if you're in traffic, maybe there's been a bit of rain, maybe you've had your bike cleaned, maybe your brakes are a little bit wet, you don't really know what response you're going to get from the back brake. And if you're not riding your bike like a tank and creating space all around you, you might go into the back of the car in front of you. And I've seen that happen. So, coming to a stop. those are the first two things. Let's continue with slowing down with, or brakes are for slowing down, but slowing down to discontinue that portion of your ride. We've talked about only using one of each brake, but what if you use those brakes too hard, and how can that cause a crash? So if you lock your front brake up, or you lose traction on your front wheel, it will quickly regain traction and you'll lay the bike down on one side. And that can happen when you grab the front brake, grab a fistful of brake, apply it too hard, you'll do what's called a low side. And the bike will kind of, it'll shoot out from underneath you. What's this? What happens if you do the same with the rear brake? If you lock the rear brake up, or you apply too much pressure too quickly to the rear brake, you may break traction on your rear tyre. Now, it will regain traction, and when it regains traction, the bike's going to flick violently, and it's going to send you over the top of the side of the bike, and that's called a high side. So you take the high road over the bike. That's the worst kind of crash you can have, because you're immediately propelled into the air. So, don't grab a fistful or a footful of each brake. That can cause some quite serious crashes. And there's one more mistake I want to outline here before I start talking about ways that you can correct those bad braking habits and things that lead to crashes. The last one is braking into corners, either approaching a corner, or if you really have to, braking in a corner. So there's going to be some corners coming up shortly, and I'll talk about what I'm doing. So, in an ideal situation when riding a motorcycle, you want to be at the optimum speed, a safe optimum speed for a corner before you engage the corner. Okay? So if I know I can take this next corner at 40 miles an hour, before I engage the bike into the corner, I want to be at 40 miles an hour. It's the old adage of slow in, fast out. It means I can control everything I'm doing whilst I'm in the corner and I know it's safe. And when the bike is pointed in the right direction, I can start applying power again. Okay? So that's number one. Now, what I do see people doing is grabbing a load of brake and then just coasting up to the corner. And that's not good bike riding, because your suspension isn't going to be loaded properly. You're going to be unloading and loading the suspension in quick succession, and you're going to have an unstable bike going into a corner. That can lead to the front wheel breaking traction and doing a low side. The bike will shoot out from underneath you and you'll go skidding across the road on your arse. Something else I see as a mistake when braking in and around corners is you come into a corner too quickly, or people will come into a corner too quickly, and they'll go, oh, I don't feel safe here. And they've got one of two options. They can either add lean angle, or they can grab a load of brake. Now, if you brake mid-corner, you run all kinds of risks. The front wheel, it may break traction, the rear wheel may break traction. When you use the front brake and you're leaned over, the bike will want to stand itself up, and you might go wide round the corner. You might end up in the verge. Yeah, lots of bad things can happen if you're braking mid-corner. So they're the mistakes that I see, and I watch these videos on YouTube and Facebook and what have you, and most of them that you see in the twisties, you can put down to bad cornering technique, and specifically bad braking technique and bad speed control. So with all of that said, let's talk about how you can improve your riding skill and some things to remember that will stop you from making these quite elementary mistakes on a bike. So we'll go back to slowing down as if you're finishing that portion of your ride, and maybe stopping at traffic lights, and maybe stopping for traffic, but whatever it is, you're not riding the bike anymore, you're slowing down and stopping. You want to be using both brakes to control the bike initially. So I'll find, if there's no cars, I'll stop around there somewhere. This is my little slow control practice. Lovely. Okay, so I might find somewhere to slow down up here. Hopefully he's going to slow down. Okay. No, he's not. I'll do it somewhere else. Anyway, you want to be using both brakes to control the bike, to slow it down, and then you want to be using the back brake only to stop the motorcycle. So there's nothing behind me at the moment, so I might just do it up here somewhere. Yeah, there's nothing behind me, so I'm going to use both brakes to slow down, go down the gears, pull the clutch in, and then I would stop on the back brake. There's a car behind me now, so I'll just speed up again. Now the reason we do that, it's called combined braking. The reason that we do that is to evenly distribute the braking force across both of the wheels. It means that, let's say we need to apply 50% stopping power to the bike, we don't have to put 50% of the stopping power through the front wheel or 50% of the stopping power through the back wheel. What we're doing is putting 25% through the front wheel and 25% through the back wheel. So it means we have to brake less to slow down as much, less risk of a wheel locking up, less risk of losing traction, and less risk of high siding or low siding the motorcycle. Okay. The reason you want to slowly come off, and I'll do a full video on braking, actually, this is a subject I go on about, so I'll do a full video on it at some point, but the reason you want to use both brakes and then slowly come off the front brake as you're about to stop and apply the back brake is to prevent exactly what I mentioned before, and that's dipping the front of the bike or stopping the momentum of the motorcycle, resulting in you dropping the bike at slow speed so when you stop, and you see loads of people doing that. So in summary, for that point, if you're slowing down and stopping, it's both brakes to control the stop of the motorcycle, and as you're about to stop, you ease off the front brake and apply pressure to the back brake. Now let's talk about cornering and braking and cornering and the mistakes that I see there and how to fix them. So I did talk about one of the solutions actually up front, and that was get the proper speed for a corner before you're in the corner, before you engage it. So plan ahead, know your routes if you can. You know, I know these roads like the back of my hand, so I know I'm taking a really leisurely pace at the moment because I'm filming, but I know what speed I can go round these corners. So this corner up here, this is a comfortable speed for me. I can now engage that corner, and I know that I don't have to brake mid-corner. That was getting a bit of a move on through that corner. Same with this one, slow down, didn't even need to brake there. Engage the corner, maintenance throttle, and then I'm out of the corner, back on the accelerator. What I'm not doing is entering hell for leather to the corner and then deciding actually, oh God, I want to slow down a bit, and braking midway through the corner. However, there is another tool that you need in your arsenal whilst riding a motorcycle, and that is trail braking. Now again, trail braking is a big subject, and I could do a full video on it, and I will at some point. Trail braking is most useful in situations where you're there's reasons for it on the track, and there's reasons for it when you've got a real lick on. I won't go into those, but from a safety perspective, if you are going too quickly to engage a corner at a comfortable, safe speed for the way that you ride, and you need to come onto the brakes before the corner, don't come on the brakes and then let go and apply the accelerator again for maintenance throttle. What you want to be doing is braking, let's say 50% before you enter the corner, and then as you lean the bike in and you get to the apex of your lean, you want to be releasing the brake as you go through the corner. So when you hit the apex of the corner and the apex of your lean, the most lean angle that you engage on the bike, you'll be fully released from the brake. I hope that makes sense. Look up trail braking. It's a brilliant tool to have in your arsenal. You don't need to use it for every single case when cornering. I wonder what's going on here. Oh yeah. You don't need to use it in every single case cornering. It's all an arsenal of techniques that you should have to keep you safe on a motorcycle. So that's the first set of reasons, new reasons, that I see people crashing on motorcycles. What's the second new reason? I'll try and do 3 of these. I've got about 40 miles left in the tank, and I don't want to cut the video halfway through, but I'll try and do 3 of them. No, we'll swap it around. I was going to talk about cars and drivers, but I'll wait till I get into the town down the road from here to talk about that. What we'll actually talk about is hazards in the road. Hazards in the road. Static hazards, either foreign objects in the road or the road itself being a hazard. Okay. So, let's talk about one of the main mistakes that I see people making, and it is these little things next to me. Cat's eyes and white lines. If you're in another country, your lines may be different coloured, but you should have lines in the road. And that goes for any road markings, any painted road markings. So there's a couple of examples here of why these can cause motorcycle crashes. Let's say I'm not behind a Toyota van at the moment and I'm not doing 36 miles an hour. I've got a proper lick on, and I'm leaning. Why is he in the verge? I think I might just slow down a little bit. That plays nicely into my what the hell are drivers of cars and vans doing on the road bit that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Yeah, road markings. Road markings. They are slick as ice. So, under normal conditions, you know, there's nothing coming. I can ride over them. I mean, that's not a problem. The bike's upright. It's fine. Where you will see problems, and where lots of riders see problems, is they've got a lick on. They're going through corners. They're leaning over, and they run wide, and their back wheel hits a white line or a yellow line, and you just see every time that they wash out, and that loses traction in the back wheel, and they low side the bike. There's so many videos of that online. Now you should be thinking about it like this. This is a double-laned road. Okay, there's one lane this way, one lane this way. Not all of that tarmac is mine. It's only this lane that's mine. So yeah, I've got a verge on that side and I'm going to hurt myself if I go into it, and I've got another lane of tarmac on that side that I'm not going to hurt myself with. That doesn't matter. Running wide is going near those white lines. So going round corners, especially at speed, I'm not thinking about the whole road, both carriageways going in opposite directions, as the profile of my corner. I'm assessing that corner, the apex of the corner, the entry and the exit of the corner, based on the lane that I'm in, not based on the width of the tarmac that I can see in front of me. And I see so many people washing out and low-siding the bike because you can obviously see that they're going, I've got a load of tarmac in front of me. I'm safe if I go over there. Now, you know, notwithstanding a car might be coming on the other side, you know, say it's a closed road. You still don't want to be washing out over those lines. So that's the second mistake. The third mistake, well, I don't like the word mistakes. The third reason that I think motorcycles crash. You'll love this one. Other drivers. Now, there's a caveat here, and that is I'm not one for blaming other people. I've said in a couple of videos before, it was my decision to get on this motorcycle. So all blame for anything that happens lies. We've talked about creating risk as a rider of your motorcycle. Let's talk about how risk is created around you by other road users. So I could go on for ages and ages and ages about this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to give you a few quite simple but impactful points, hopefully. Everybody is living their own life. Everyone thinks they're the main character. They're not interested in you at all. You know, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening at the moment, and I can tell you now that everybody on the road is either coming home from work, going to a night shift, they pick the kids up from the childminders. It could be anything, and they've got a million things on their mind ahead of me on my bike. Now, how does that manifest itself? In all the stuff that happens that leads to crashes. Cars pulling out of junctions, cars rear-ending you at traffic lights or at stops, cars overtaking and not seeing you. I mean, there's a bus here, that car could have popped out and gone right head to head with me. It didn't, but you have to be aware of these things, and you have to be aware that you're not in control of what other people are doing. Excuse me. I've been talking for too long. That's obviously a sign, isn't it? Yeah, everyone's living their own life, and everyone else thinks they're the main character, especially when they're driving a car. Now, something that I will say, and if you are a motorcyclist, you'll know exactly what I mean. You sit higher up on a bike, well, you do on most bikes, and you can see into people's cars. And isn't it just fantastic, and also quite worrying, actually, that you can see people on their phones doing their makeup. I've seen somebody changing their trousers in a car whilst it was a stop. Granted, we're in a bit of a traffic jam, but I've seen someone changing their trousers. What kind of lunatic changes their trousers whilst they're driving? I was there in awe. I didn't want to go and knock on his window. That was obviously an odd person who I didn't want to interact with. Yeah, so people are doing all manner of things in their vehicles. We will wait here. People are doing all manner of things in their vehicles and not looking at you at all. So, yeah, bear that in mind, I would say. The next thing, let me just negotiate this. Okay, the next thing to talk about with other road users is they're not interested in bikes. So, you know what? We'll go around. I'm not staying behind that. They're not interested in bikes. So, as a motorcyclist, I'm so switched on to when bikes are around me. Even when I'm driving my car, when I'm driving my bike, I'm really switched on to where they are, and you see them, and they register on your radar. That's not the case for the majority of the population. I mean, I don't know how many people. It'd be an interesting figure to know, out of all the people that drive in the United Kingdom and have a driving license, actually how many of them have a motorcycle entitlement on their license, and I bet it's quite a small percentage. So they're not interested in motorcycles. They don't ride motorcycles. Probably didn't grow up around motorcycles. They have no passion for motorcycles like we do. So they don't see them. You don't see them on the road. Have you ever had that thing where you buy something? It might be a new car, it might be, say, a new bike, whatever it is, and then you start seeing them everywhere. I think everybody has that. So I've just bought an Abarth 595 Competizione car. There's a video of it on my channel. Watch it because it's an awesome little machine. And I hadn't seen many Abarths around. Maybe the odd one here and there. I see them all the time now because it's in my mind, and it's something that is present for me. So I start noticing them. Most people in cars don't. My point is, most people in cars don't notice motorcycles because it's just not on their mind. There's nothing you can do as a rider to combat that. There is something you can do as a role model, though. I don't have kids yet. Don't know if I'm going to have them, but I don't have kids yet. But if you've got kids, or if you've got grandkids, this is something my granddad actually got me to do when I was younger. He created a game for me and my brother in the back of the car when we were going anywhere, and it was count the motorcycles. Now, it was a bit of fun as a kid, but my granddad, he was doing something quite clever. Actually, he was making us subconsciously aware and noticing motorcycles for later in life. So I learned that as a young child, always be on the lookout for motorcycles, and I did that through having a game with my brother and my granddad about counting them, and it was all good fun. But honestly, it stuck with me. It really, really has stuck with me. So I go down the road now, I see a bike, and I go, oh, that's a nice bike, and 6 times out of 10, I'll remember playing that game with my granddad and my brother, and I'm thinking, he was training me. He was training me to do this. So, if you can be a role model to a younger person, maybe someone who's interested in motorcycles, even someone who isn't interested in motorcycles, try and play that game with them. I think that's just a brilliant way of embedding in somebody a subconscious way of noticing things. on the road. And on that slightly heartwarming note, I think we'll wrap everything up. Again, thanks for watching, everybody. I really hope this one has some better sound quality. I'm going to do another one of these videos because I've got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to being safe on the road and looking after yourself. If you could, as I said at the start of the video, if you would subscribe to the channel. I'm putting content out a lot more frequently now. If you could like and subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, any feedback, I'm so open to feedback, then I would really, really appreciate it. So, be safe out there, everybody. Ride responsibly, ride your own ride, and look after yourselves. And I will see you all soon.